3, 2, and we're live with Be Green with Amy.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Be Green with Amy. I'm Amy. After adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, my hubby Rick and I lost over 130 pounds. Now I coach others on their plant-based journey. Just Task Voice. Let's welcome our guest.
At age 72, Esther lost 130 pounds. Learn how she finally conquered food cravings and embraces a healthier lifestyle. Please click like to help Be Green with Amy. Welcome, author of From Donuts to Potatoes, Esther Loveridge.
Greetings, Green Warrior, and welcome back, Esther.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It's always great to see you. I just feel a personal connection with you.
And likewise, yes, I always enjoy having you on. I always feel so much more grounded after having a chat with Esther. Well, Green Warriors, do you ever let fear dominate your thinking? Because, and I think all of us do at one time or another. Esther's going to give us her tips on how to break free from the grip of self-doubt. And please let us know in the chat, Green Warrior, if you have ever let fear dominate your thinking. So we have a lot to unpack today. And every time we talk about Esther, we talk about you coming back on the broadcast, because I'm always delighted to have you on, and I let you choose the topic. And it's always so interesting because your mind goes different places and you get interested in different things. And this was the topic that you had come up with most recently. And I thought, well, if this is your topic, then obviously it's something that you have faced.
Yes, it is.
Or still face, maybe.
Well, I think as humans, we're continually facing it. So I think it's a common thread between all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought maybe we could start off with our game of true or false. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, so our first true or false question is, true or false? Esther was always confident about making changes to her diet. What do you think, Green Warriors? And of course, Esther's going to tell us more about that as you're typing in what the guess is. Okay, Esther, tell us about it.
No, I can't say that I was always desperate. And I was always, well, I think initially I might have thought I could be successful and could be confident, but many, many times I failed before I found what worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes when people are successful, as you are and as I am, people think, oh, they have something special about them that I lack. I don't have the confidence. I have fear. I have self-doubt. And that's what keeps me from being successful. And these people that I see, especially when they do broadcasts like we're doing today, and they show their before and after pictures, and they say, oh, that person has all the confidence and no self-doubt. And that's how they got to be where they are. And obviously that's not true, right?
No. There were so many, like so many other diets, and dieters and people trying to find a solution to their cravings. It's just, we were just trading really one style for another style without getting to the real solution, which was, it was the food. And you can change, from going, like, say, to Weight Watchers, where some of the choices can be very healthy, but some options are also offered there that aren't healthy. Or you could go on the grapefruit diet, which isn't giving you any starch, or you could limit your calories to 600 a day, like I did one time, and that's enough fuel to keep me sustained for the whole time. So it's wonderful. And probably each person maybe finds a variation on the theme that works for them. But when I was given that Dr. McDougall's book, I wasn't confident, but I was going to jump in and try it for sure. And I just thought I almost wanted to dare him to be right. I said, I'm going to put that sucker to the test. And I was going to jump in and try one more thing. And I haven't had to change anything since then. It's just coming up this summer on 9 years. Can you believe that?
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after a while, you stop counting. In the beginning, you're counting, oh my goodness, am I going to make it through another day? How, what will the outcome be? And you're thinking about that because, well, at least if you have the self-doubt. But yeah. And I think that's, you mentioned Dr. McDougall, and I think that when you watch him, there's so many videos of him, which is so nice that we can visit with him whenever we want to on social media, on the internet, and he kind of helps you feel more confident about the decision and about what you're doing, because he's just so practical, and it's just it's always been the food, and that's and that's what it is. And if we just can understand that, then that can definitely help us. I wanted to we have a couple of people that are shouting out. Jennifer said, "Love you, Esther."
Hi, Jennifer.
And Ron is saying, "Hey, y'all."
Yeah.
We just have a couple of people that are starting to come in to our space and go ahead and tell us where you're watching from. I would love if you could tell us where you're watching from today.
Yeah, I found out where Jennifer is from. I actually looked it up, and it's Parker, California, Parker, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
About
See?
that little area outside of Denver where she's from. So you didn't know that, Jennifer. I was checking you out.
Yeah. And we want to know, are you toasty warm today, or are you bundled up? Because Esther has a beautiful fuzzy jacket on today, and I had one on earlier. And we were talking about how fuzzy and cozy these jackets are these days. Yeah. Oh, here's Roxy. Greetings, Roxy. That's so nice. I love how people come on and say hello. Okay, so let's go to our next question. And let me find that. Okay, so let's just go with this. True or false? Fear can prevent individuals from making healthy lifestyle changes. That's had so many layers to it, It has a lot of layers. So what do you think, Green Warriors? True or false? And Esther, what do you think about that?
Oh, I think fear stops us from doing most anything. Yeah, and trying to change our thinking or change the way we eat. We're worried about what other people are going to think. What are they going to say? How are we going to handle this situation? And fear of responses for making changes in our body. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and there's other layers to it. And I think that we're going to be getting to them as well, because there's a lot of things that can cause the fear. Sometimes it's within ourselves, and sometimes it's external things as well. So let's just see. I'm going to go with okay, so here we go. Fear of failure, right? What do you think, Green Warriors? Fear of failure is one of the most common obstacles to starting a plant-based lifestyle. So what do you think? If any of you have already adopted this lifestyle and you want to say if that affected you or not, or if you're watching and you're thinking about doing it, and maybe that might be a fear that you have. So let us know in the comments as you're putting your answers in. And meanwhile, we'll ask Esther to tell us about that.
Well, I know when I first made this last switch, because we've been on so many different diets and they all failed, and I was kind of embarrassed to even try another program, because so many times when we want to start something new, we get all excited, and then we want others to join us for support. And after they've joined us for support a number of times and we've failed, it's really hard to ask for help again. So I know fear held me back for a while of asking Ben to support me, but I finally decided I needed his help. I would risk that again. And I asked him, well, could you just not bring any sweets into the house? And he agreed with that. So yes, it takes courage to ask again, the 100th time or the 200th time, but getting help is so important, emotionally, and it's something we can't do alone.
Yeah. And whenever you come on, I like to give people, and there's Ben, which is your husband. And I wanted to show some before and after pictures. And I like to share these because this way people can see that if they're not familiar with you, or if they have never seen your before and after pictures, that we could see what the transformation was all about, and why people are just so excited about hearing from you. Well, that's one reason why, and also because you have so much wisdom to share. But yeah, that is so true. And so being fair, so we're afraid of failing. I'm the kind of person that if I decide that I want to do something that other people may see me do, I don't tell them that I'm about to do it. I just start doing it. Because maybe for some reason I might decide that I don't want to go through with it. And I don't want to worry about, I think we lost. Okay, we got you back. I don't want to worry about what they may say or think if I either fail or I decide not to do it. So I would rather just go ahead and do it and keep doing it until I feel good about the fact that I've established myself and I'm actually doing it. And then at that point, I can go ahead and share with those people, guess what? I've just started trying to do this, and I wanted you to tell me what you think, or just support me, or maybe I don't even need to know what you think, but that's what I do. Yeah. So fear of there's a lot of things that are involved, because it's fear of maybe I won't be able to do it, or what will other people think or say, right? And I think that one of the fears that maybe people have about this is not just failure, but maybe the fear once they learn what this lifestyle is about, and that they'll get good results, but they also have to change what they're eating. And changing what they're eating, it does involve eating things that maybe they never tried before, which is a wonderful experience, but it also can involve maybe leaving behind some of the things that we used as comfort food or with family traditions. And that can be a fear, and I think the people I have clients, and my clients often will say, when I'm first starting out with them, they'll say, well, what about, and then fill in the blank, cheese, meat, or whatever it is. What and they always say my, oftentimes they'll say my this, and, so I can't have that, and they're so worried that what will happen, how will they ever get along without having these foods? Did you experience, and was there any particular food that I don't like to call everything that we used to eat food, but was there any particular thing that you enjoyed eating that you thought, oh, it'd be nice to do this, but maybe I might have to be concerned that I'll never have X again? I don't think I can hear you, Esther. So Esther's going to have to, let me just see. Okay, I think your mic is muted for some reason. So while Esther works on that, I'm going to see if there's any. Okay, so Roxy said, fear of not being able to stick to this lifestyle because of peer pressure. Exactly, Roxy. I love that comment. I think that happens to a lot of people. Esther, you might want to just exit out and then come back in, and then maybe that might be helpful to you. So I think that can be something that people face. As anybody else that's with us, any of you Green Warriors, have you experienced that you were concerned about peer pressure? It's kind of difficult, because you're around people that they don't want to make this change. And or some of them don't even want to try it, and some of them there are some that don't understand it, so they think that maybe you're going to not be healthy if you don't keep eating those certain foods. Let's see if we can have Esther back. Do we have you back, Esther? You want to?
I think so. Do you have my?
Yeah. So we were just talking about that fear, and Roxy said that the fear of not being able to stick to the lifestyle because of peer pressure. And I was talking a little bit about peer pressure. So do you want to talk about that, Esther?
Well, I think when I first started this, it wasn't like, you mean I can't have this and I can't have that, because I wasn't dealing with a human being. I was dealing with a book. And so I was following Dr. McDougall's Maximum Weight Loss book. So I was just going by what he said. So it wasn't like someone was trying to talk me into a diet. And then I had to say, you mean I have to give up salt, or I have to give up sugar, or I have to give up, I can't have to give up fish too, and give up cheese too, and give up oil too. And, so I didn't have that internal argument. And I just dove in because I have a different kind of a mind. And I just wanted to treat it like an experiment. So I mentally had decided I was going to do it. It wasn't like looking for exceptions in my case. So I just wanted to do it and then see if it worked. And I knew I had to follow the program just as closely as I could to it in order to have a good test. So that part was different. But then once I started doing it, then I received opposition, and people started saying, well, how did you start losing weight? And then when I told them, then that's when I would get more responses like, well, I remember my dear sister-in-law, she said, oh, you might as well lie down and die. And I said, well, I'm not lying down and I'm not dying. So that part was a different experience. But even so, when I talk to other people about it, those questions always come up. Well, what about this? And what about that? And I think in general, people are looking for a way not to have 100% submission.
Yeah. And I think for most people, that's really the only way that it works, is doing the 100%. I was just listening to a podcast with Dr. Furman, and he was talking about how some people have like a predisposition maybe to heart disease, whether it's a genetic thing or something that, they have that certain chromosome or whatever it is in them that would predispose them to that. Or maybe they get bloating and they think, oh, this isn't working for me, so I'm not going to do it. And what he has found, because he has a retreat, and what he has found is that those people that say, well, I'm just going to have a bagel once a week, and that's, that can't harm anything. And for some people, even just doing that little one thing a week can just totally just get in the way of their healing. And it could be something that could be actually quite harmful for some people, even that small amount. And I think the different plant-based doctors, they have different feelings about this, where some of them say, well, just do what you can. And others, like Dr. Furman said, why not go 100%, And I think for me, I'm a more of 100% kind of a person. And that's one of my fears, I think. And that's why I am 100% person, because I fear that if I don't do 100%, that I'll just erase everything I did and go back to my old ways. And that has happened in the past with things that I decided to do. Like I decided to start exercising, and then I would take a day off and then another day off. And then before you knew it, I wasn't exercising anymore. And just things like that I knew that if I didn't just totally 100% commit to it, I could easily stop doing it and then be disappointed. So yeah, I guess everybody is different, but that's how it is for me anyway. What about you, Esther?
Well, I think most of us who have used food as medicine, not in the positive way, but use food for comfort or for stress reduction, instead of learning more about why we're getting stressed or depressed or whatever, those bandages of, for me, sweets or ice cream or even cheese or whatever my go-to was, it gave me temporary relief. It's almost like if I was never a smoker, but if you're a smoker, I've noticed in movies, I watch the stress level and the movies go up. And when the stress level goes up, what do? They're either going to the sidebar, pouring themselves a drink, or they're grabbing a cigarette. And I don't know if this was intended for those industries to promote themselves in movies, but certainly they're displaying it as though the minute our blood pressure rises or fear comes into our life, we go to the quickest, what we think is the quickest and fastest fix. And it may be a little fix for that moment, but it doesn't last because we haven't gone to the root of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I had my daughter on Jess with Jess Task Force. She does all the promos and the voiceovers with us. And we were talking because we were trying to remember what it was like in 2012 when we adopted this lifestyle. And we both regret not taking more pictures and not writing journals and and all that. But I think sometimes when you do something, you don't really think you're going to go keep up with it for that long. So, why even invest in that? But we talked about how one of the things that she loved was cheese. It was a real thing. And, it does change you chemically in your brain, and it gives you a rise in feel good hormones like dopamine. So it's a real thing. And it's not a character flaw that you like it and it's hard to give up. And I had gone I was a little bit further along in the lifestyle than she was because she was still in college. So she was still being exposed to pizza parties and, free pizza and, all kinds of things like that, where I was able to keep my house clean. So I didn't have that temptation. And that was one of the last things that she said that was difficult to give up was the cheese. And so fortunately we had each other. So there was something that I wanted to be able to do in my physical activity, my physical fitness routine. And I was working hard at doing it. And because I wanted to, and so I wanted to be sitting with my legs crossed and be able to stand up without using anything to hold on to. That was a goal that I had. And so she said, when you do that, then I'll give up cheese. I think she was trying to buy herself a little time. Okay. So which was good because we both bounced off of each other and we both gave each other something to aspire to, and so so there was fear for me because I said, well, what if I can't do it? Then she won't give up cheese. I'm sure she will eventually, but I want her to give it up now, but I wasn't going to force her to do something, but that's in my mind. I said, oh, I really need to do this. And I did, which was something that was wonderful because, all my life, I never was able to do anything like that. So I was supposed to be aging and getting older. I wasn't supposed to be able to do something that my younger self should have been able to do, So that was something that we talked about. But yeah, these are definitely those kinds of things that people experience. And so it's like you have the internal fears and then the fears of the people around you and what they might say. And it's just that, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning, that there are definitely layers of what it is, of what is going on here.
Yeah, I think for me too, there was also even a fear of looking good.
Yeah, that's something you really need to talk about, Esther, because that's not something that a lot of people either, they may not even be aware if it's something that they may be experiencing, and other people may not be aware that other people are experiencing. So talk more about that.
Yeah, well, I didn't come to this awareness right away, but I think I realized that a lot of my overeating and putting on layers and layers of onion or fat was self-protection, because I got at my highest. Well, actually, I was still high when Ben and I got married, but after a divorce, I was really adding on more weight because being married, I think I had someone who didn't want me to get too heavy. So that was somewhat of a encouragement with that. But then without that, I think entering the single life again, and this wasn't conscious. I didn't say, well, I'm going to get fat so no one will like me. I didn't really consciously think that. But as I look back, I thought that would keep me safe, where I wouldn't have to deal with other people's advancement. And but you know, what you find out is there's people out there that like skinny people and like medium people, and some people out there like fat people. So it wasn't a guarantee that I wouldn't have to still deal with the issues of who I wanted to be with.
Yeah, and that it's so interesting because you're actually, as you're trying to keep weight on or gain weight, you're actually physically putting up a physical barrier.
Yes, yeah, that's true. It
Yeah,
was like, you can't touch me, you know. I'm hidden. I'm underneath all of this, and you-
yeah.
you'd have to really like me to want to get to know me, you know.
And Ben did.
Yeah, yes, he did. Well, it was, and he wasn't like other men. He was, I don't know, he just sensed something about me that he liked, and I don't know, it was my aura or my spirit or my mind or whatever, but he was really one who made it clear that he wasn't after my body, you know, and it was so refreshing to meet a man of that character.
Mm,
I was
yeah.
really fortunate.
And you have a wonderful love story about that in your book that you'll be talking about later. So, because I love your story. It's
Uh,
so beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I just want to see if there's Jean Morris. Do you have any questions that you want to ask Esther? Because I will definitely love to ask her that to do what to see what you wanted to. Let me just see. I thought I saw a comment there. So yeah, type it in the comments if you have a question for Esther, and we will definitely do that. So
yeah, I might also insert here that I think a lot of our diseases come from fear.
mm,
You know, not necessarily how we're going to look and whether or not we're going to stick to the diet, but I think going way down deep that there are other, um, I don't know if you call it karmic fears or just way down deep have these fears of life in general, you know, or we might even bring something on us. Is it possible that we bring on or activate cancer in our own bodies by being fearful? Maybe we're fearful of the world. Maybe we're fearful of our spouse. Maybe we're fearful of how our children are behaving. Or maybe we have, you know, fears can erupt in so many different levels. Um, are we going to be eating healthy food? Or how do we know? Just insecurity fears. You know, how will I know that this is the right pathway? Or how can I learn to be guided from my internal spirit to do what I need to do? And fear of failure, and there's probably more descriptions of fear than we can even think about, you know. fear
yeah,
fear of dying,
yes,
you know, and fear of, for me, it wasn't, I had all those diseases listed on my Kaiser after office visit report. I wasn't scared of diverticulitis. I wasn't scared of wearing a sleep apnea machine. I wasn't even afraid of weighing. Well, when I got to 282, I did not want to reach 300. That was a fear I had. I did not want to get that high. But other than that, I mean, my eyesight was being checked, and I had a lot of things going on. But as long as I could take sleeping pills, as long as I could take pain pills for my knees, as long as I could take statins for my high blood pressure, I wasn't worried. So I didn't have any of those fears about my body. I was coping with them and doing very well. But when my knees started giving out, and then I had a fear of being able to continue to travel. So that's what caught my eye. But we all have different times in our lives where we get the light, as I say, where something beams in on us that we cannot ignore. And for me, as I've mentioned before, we were in Ireland with that picture on the left there at the Titanic site. I felt as big as the Titanic. But you know, when my by the end of that tour in Ireland, and we were planning to go to China in the fall, I thought, how am I going to do it? I could not imagine how I could help my knees, you know, when they were almost bone on bone. But miracles happen, and I switched over to eating this way. I did not have to have knee injections. I did not have to continue taking my pain medications, and I did not have to have my knees operated on, for which I'm very grateful.
That's wonderful thing for you to say, because I'm sure that there may be people who are watching that may be having those issues. And I've been I've heard from some experts that for every pound of extra weight you have on your body, it's like 5 pounds of at least 5 pounds of pressure on your knees and other joints that are trying to hold on to that and support it. So I would imagine that that could have been something that was very, very helpful to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anytime I want to test that, all I have to do is pick up 20 pounds of potatoes, and I can tell.
Mm.
Can tell. I mean, knees
So
don't
it
hurt at
needs,
all now, but I can tell when you add that extra weight, you can feel the pressure on my knees.
yeah. Yeah. So that's very encouraging. So I asked the Green Warriors to type in the chat, what strategies you use to silence negative thinking. So tell us about that in the chat if you have learned about strategies, and then I'll ask you, Esther.
Wow, that almost sounds like a spiritual journey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think we have to take control of our mind and our thoughts, and those thoughts always come, but we can just say that may be true at one time, but it's not true anymore. And to say, I think that's where Louise Hay's work does a lot of good. I read a little quote from her every day, making positive affirmations, and I've learned, especially I would say in the last couple of years, how important our words are when we speak them out loud or whether they're silent in our mind, that when negative words come, we need to change that around and say, no, I am capable. And for some of us, I'm speaking for myself, when I was really heavy and overweight, I almost thought I didn't matter, and I didn't think my words were that important. I wouldn't feel like I was in control of my life and what I was putting in my mouth. But I think as you start out on a good, healthy journey, it helps your mind be clearer too. As long as you're feeding it sugar and keeping on a high and depending on something outside of yourself, then it's harder to have that confidence. But I'll tell you, eating a clean diet, it's amazing how it helps your mind. It gets rid of a lot of that brain fog. And with a little bit of success, you start feeling better about yourself. And you say, I can do this. I am in the driver's seat. I can choose what I put in my mouth, and I'm the only one that does. So there's no one else to blame, but I think reading positive material helps too. I think self-help books are wonderful, where you learn where other people have gotten in control of their lives. And it's, in a way, it's not so much as getting in control of your life as just knowing what our bodies feed on, what they do the best, and having that education and learning what our body really needs, and then doing it. It's a joint commission, you might say.
Oh, yeah. This negative thinking, this negative self-talk, I think it's something that a lot of us experience, and we've been doing it for so long that sometimes we're not even aware
Yeah.
that it's happening. And especially I think some of those voices could be from our childhood, from people that were in charge of raising us, that the negative things that they may have said, and that we're still trying to please them. Do
Yeah.
you think
You
that
know,
that affects
plus,
you?
plus those negative things also give you an excuse not to perform. Because if you tell yourself, well, I can't do that, I'm a failure, then you don't even have to try. You've already told your brain you can't do it.
Yes, absolutely. And what a gift that if you actually were able to put those fears aside and that negative thinking aside, and you actually were able to accomplish something, that would be such a gift to yourself, to put all that stuff behind you. And then I think it could probably snowball from there. And have you felt that because you were found success with this lifestyle, that it maybe changed your thinking and as far as how you handle fear
Yeah.
for did it affect other things in your life?
Yeah, I think I still have to be aware of that, because those sayings that I heard when I was little, like children should be seen and not heard.
Hmm.
And my dad, if somebody acted kind of smart, he might say they're getting too big for their britches. And so I think there was a season or a time when people wanted people to be humble and to be modest, or not to be egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance between the two. But when you know who you are, it's so much easier to come from a position of strength without bragging about it. I think we don't want our ego to be the motivation, or to be, I come from a spirit of being thankful that I learned this and I have this experience to share. Not that I know it all, because I don't, but I do know my own journey and how it has worked. And so I can say with confidence that this worked for me. And I can't say that everyone who does this, I can't promote that, but I can say this is my testimony. This is what worked for me. And I think it could work for everyone who's sincere and willing to give up those old bandages that we've often reverted to in times of stress.
Oh,
It,
yeah.
it,
That I guess that's something that we have to figure out, something else to do with that stress, right?
yes. And to realize that life is stressful. We're not going to be stress free ever. But every time stress comes up, I view it as an opportunity to learn. Like, what is it that's causing me stress, or what's causing me pain, or what's causing me discomfort? And instead of trying to cover up, learn how better. Maybe it means sometimes learning to say no, and not be afraid of what somebody else is going to think of us. To get that internal courage where you can be who you are, because you're the only one in the world like you.
Yes.
And we each have to be our own individual selves, as well as function in groups. And there is give and take, but we don't have to give up what we know to be true to please somebody else.
Mm. Yeah. And I think that eventually, I don't know if people tell me, Green Words, in the chat, how are you experiencing any of this, things that are feeding your doubt, but for people that are around you, maybe your friends or your family, or people that you, maybe even when you go to work. I know that some of my clients actually, they have things going on in their office where, especially from Halloween all the way to Valentine's Day, which is practically every month, there's always some kind of a thing in the office that they have to, and get pressured also, right? So they actually, people come up and say, I made this for you, or here, why don't you have some of this? Or I have clients who, they have people in their office that order out for lunch every day, and they come over and say, what do you want? And it's all about trying to get along with the people that are around you, and conform. And so I think a lot of people have those fears too. And that's something that can really get in the way. And plus, so now you've got the battle between what people are thinking about you and saying about you, and then your inner voice, which is maybe saying negative things, and maybe being afraid that they're not going to accept you. And then, of course, you have your addictions that are like, well, here we go. We just got an excuse. Let's forget it all and do what everybody else is doing. So that, I think that could be. What do you think about that, Esther?
Yeah, I see. I did this when I was old. I was 72 by the time I made a change. So I did not have to have a day-to-day experience in the workforce. Chef AJ always talked about having a clean house. So I cleaned the toxic food out of my house. My house was a clean and safe place to be. I didn't have to go to work every day and be in that mixed environment with parties and cookies and stuff. Once a week, we go to church and they have coffee and usually some kind of cookies and stuff, but I'll have a cup of water. And then it was really kind of interesting. One time somebody brought some lemons, and another time somebody brought some grapefruit, and I had a grapefruit. And one time a guy brought a little bags of cauliflower, and I thought, well, isn't this nice? The cookies are there.
Yeah.
And something else has been offered that I can accept and participate in. But last Sunday, I did have a cookie and a little pretzel, because I was thinking, with my son being so ill, I was thinking about how short life is.
Mm-hmm.
And I allowed that to enter my mind, that I was not going to quit having fun.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, that was the end of that. I came home and had my potatoes, and because I've been doing this as long as I have, it didn't send me off into a different tangent. But I'm still vulnerable. I mean, there's still things that can get into my brain and take away the joy that I have from having found the answer that has served me so well. I'm just so thankful that I know it works for me. And
Mm-hmm.
when you have that assurance, I even go so far as to say I think it's what our Creator intended us to eat.
Yes.
So if I like to ask the question, did it grow? And cookies do not grow.
Yeah.
Nor do pretzels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, and that is something that if you are eating foods that are alive, then you're taking in all that energy. Think about how the plants, they absorb the sunlight and the energy that
Yeah.
comes from that sunlight that makes them go from a tiny little seed and just explode into something that actually produces food.
Yeah.
What kind of energy that is, and you're just getting to accept the energy from the plant, but also from the sun that it just
Yeah.
absorbed throughout its growth period, and compared to something like you said that's not alive,
Uh-huh.
or never lived, or if I think about the farm animals that they have to die in order for people to eat them, and what they must experience right before that happens, and you could potentially be absorbing that kind of energy, which is not a happy energy at all.
Oh.
So Jennifer said, my boss is always asking if I want to order out. Yeah, this is what we were talking about last week. He brought in a box of donuts into my office, and I thanked him. I took a chocolate donut and I threw it in the trash after he left. See,
Yeah.
that's a great strategy, right? Because
It
sometimes,
is.
especially it's a boss, and you don't, you want them to like you because, they're in charge of your future as far as your career. And so you want to definitely try to get along with them. And so that was a perfect thing. If that was a perfect strategy that you did, then you should
Yeah.
be giving yourself a pat on the back for that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies, and there's no single way. I know some people will have well, like with us, for instance, when I first started, Ben had meat in the freezer and he didn't want to throw it away.
Because it would be wasteful.
He didn't want to be wasteful, and that's honorable too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to choose between putting toxic stuff into your body or put it in the garbage can, it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
And different, we arrive at those decisions as we mature. Where the money that we spent for the meat is already gone. We
Yes.
get it back. And it rubs against some of us, especially older people, I think, to throw things away. But it's just like if you had, say, a certain grade of oil for your car, and then you bought a new car, and that old oil isn't suitable for your new car, you're not going to put it in your new car because you don't want to throw away the oil.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very good point. Right. And if you're going to use it, then it's going to be harming you. So is that actually utilizing it for, the best purpose, where if you didn't eat it, then it would definitely not be harming you. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, some people use that as an excuse to start, because they say, well, I'll start this lifestyle, but first I need to eat my way through my food in my kitchen before, because I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they choose to do that, it's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the time yet for them to be ready to commit. So I don't want to criticize or judge someone who takes that strategy. I just hope for them that they get rid of it one way or the other so they can start a new life. And my own personal choice would be, if you want to be well, start now. If you went to the doctor and he gave you a prescription, or say he changed your prescription, would you keep taking your old medicine just to use it up?
Yeah, that's a good point too. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't, yeah, you wouldn't. And that's the thing, when you were talking earlier, I wanted to say about how when you were, before you adopted the lifestyle, you were on all these different medications.
Yes.
And so any fear that you would have had about heart disease or diabetes or, all the digestive issues, all these things, it kind of made you feel that everything was being managed because you were on these prescriptions, right? So
Right.
it kind of made you feel that you didn't have to be fearful. And that's what you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
And so then the thought of maybe not being on those medications, but then, they weren't really healing you anyway.
No. And I think that was what was a different journey for me, was to get to the point where I thought of something besides healing my body. I just, it's just interesting how we learn what we need to know when we need to know it. And so if somebody had talked to me about, oh, you shouldn't be on those prescriptions, I might have resisted. But this came from inside of me when I didn't want my body to keep me from traveling. And that was a very personal thing. So and it was just so wonderful how it all fell into place. I think it was just the right time for me. I got the book in the right time. I was desperate enough. All of those pieces fell into place. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
And then the medications took care of themselves.
Mm.
Have to think about going off. I mean, over time. Oh, I was on levothyroxine as well, and also lithium for a mood disorder. So, things I call everything divine order or miracle, but that's my vocabulary. But it was just the right time. That's all, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious to know, for Green Warrior that you're watching, let us know if you have embraced the plant-based lifestyle, and if you have, for how long, and if anything, if there's something that you're trying to, that maybe fear is getting in your way, that you haven't completely gone 100% or something, is there something getting in your way that you want to tell us about, that we can unpack and kind of go into a little further. Yeah, so we're just, afraid of what other people might think of us. And then we have to have those strategies as far as how to deal with it. We're afraid of maybe looking too good. And I think that there are some people who have spouses or people that they're involved in a relationship with, that those people are afraid of what the person who is trying to make the change might happen. So I have seen where some spouses or fiancés or whatever, that they're so worried that their person who is adopting this lifestyle, and they're seeing that they're having the results, that they're starting to lose weight, and they're starting to come off medication, and they're starting to get more energy and a clearer mind, that they're concerned that maybe that person may not want to be with them anymore. And some of them may even try to sabotage, not maliciously, and they may not even be aware of it, but they try to sabotage what that person is doing. And because they're worried that that person may not want to be with them anymore once they make the change.
Oh, I think that's real. I think any change is going to affect everyone in your environment. And it may be a source of inspiration or encouragement, but it can also be a threat. And I think it's kind of funny. At one point, somebody overheard somebody saying to Ben, "You better watch out. She's looking pretty good." And he doesn't remember that, but I
Yeah.
remember. And I only say that to emphasize what you're saying, is that some some spouses or partners will feel threatened if the I kind of liken life into being like a mobile, like little mobiles hanging over a baby's crib.
Mm.
And if one of those elements changes, what happens? The whole mobile
Yeah.
shifts and has to find a new equilibrium. And that can happen in relationships if one decides to start taking get better care of themselves, whether it's dieting or just in grooming or exercise or walking more, getting some sunshine. Any change can be a source of inspiration or a threat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's something that people definitely have to be aware of. So Roxy said, I agree with Esther that when is the right time, everything falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that comes from living a life and having some things to look back on and experiences where, you know, that you've had, and you're still having experiences now. It's not like it's not happening anymore. But we kind of realize that these things that we thought were going to be a big deal and that we were never going to forget about it. That's something I go through a lot with my grown children, you know, because when they were younger, they might experience an embarrassing moment or a failure that they didn't want to deal with. And I would always say to them, what you're going through now, it's awful. And it seems like it's never going to end. And I promise you that when you get older, you probably won't even remember this. Not to say that it's not awful at this moment, but just know that it won't be awful for the rest of your life, that you probably forget, you know. And oftentimes they'll bring that up to me, you know, and because we'll have conversations, you know, and now you can talk about those things that were devastating, and it's not a big deal anymore because you're over it. And they'll say, you're right, I forgot all about that, you know.
Yeah.
But the timing is just so critical for everything. And you got to give yourself some grace too, because maybe you adopt this lifestyle and maybe you're not being 100%, or maybe you don't feel as successful as you wish you were, but there's the timing has to be right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And your willingness, you know, we can't do it because the doctor said we need to lose weight, or because our husbands or our spouses or friends want us to lose weight. It has to come from within. And when it does, then there's no one else to blame. And you just can take responsibility for it and say, this is the time. This is what I really want to do. You know, I think Dr. Ornish's wife pointed that out one time. She said, what are you willing to do? Because some people might think, oh, well, yeah, I should do this. I should do it 100%. I should jump in all the way. But if they're not in line with it, you know, if they're not body, mind, and soul being in agreement, because you know, you might want to lose weight and you want that, but then the other part of you says, well, no, I like this even more. And you know, if you feel conflicted, it's harder to bring the vectors together and go together. You know, you're struggling against yourself sometimes, but when you get it all together, that this is really what you want. You might still have some slip ups, of course, because we're human, but at least the direction has been defined.
Yeah. But I think that if somebody did adopt a lifestyle and they saw some success with it, I feel like that really builds upon other things. I know I feel it did for me in my life, where you start to get some more confidence that maybe you never even had before about yourself, because you actually were able to be successful with this. And then it just kind of spreads out into other areas of your life. I mean, look at you, you're a book author. I mean, you know, did you ever think, you know, that you would be writing a book?
No.
That takes a lot of courage.
I've written the page every day for 6 years now, and never would I have even thought I knew how to write. You know, some people say, oh, you're right. And I still have this little voice that says, me? No, I don't. Because, you know, we all have different styles. And if I were to have to write a novel with 10 or 15 different characters and have to get into their heads and do all that, but we just each get to do what we can do. And that's all. Like sometimes I'll talk to Ben and I'll just say, all we can do is what we know to do. You know, that's what we do, you know. And so, yeah, at 81, no, I didn't think I'd be spending my time on a YouTube thing or doing a video every day and, and writing my word every day. And now it's fun for me when I go back and read. It ministers to me as much as if I hadn't written it.
Yeah, yeah, because that was a past voice
Yes.
that you get to hear.
And then I think it's important when we go back on our life, especially being older like I am, you go back to different phases of your life and learning how to love every form that we've taken through the years. There's not one manifestation of us that didn't have value. And we've learned and we've grown and grown and grown, but it's wonderful to love that little girl that loved licorice, and it's wonderful to love the teenager who didn't feel like she was pretty and why did her mother bother having her, and and you just kind of look how you've grown and matured over the years, and wouldn't be where any of us are without the prior experiences we had to learn from.
Yeah, it definitely, it made us, absolutely, for all the different parts of the metamorphosis that we go through. Yeah, and your words are just so inspiring to others, and you now just were on a summit. So
Yeah.
here you go again. I mean, talk about fear.
Yeah, I haven't even watched it. I think about 15 or 20 people joined Esther's Nutritional Journey since yesterday when that summit was aired. And so the fact that it meant something to somebody makes me feel happy that it was worth the time to do it, but I haven't gone back and listened to it. And I don't think I will because, every day is new and I don't need to go back and listen to it. But I'm glad that it inspired some new people that have joined, and I hope that they'll continue to love themselves as they mature and grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, I wanted to talk about your book, and then I wanted to talk about something. Oh, so Roxy said, I want to listen to it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there were a lot of great speakers on there, and Esther, it's just so lovely that they had her on, because then that means that people are starting to notice her more, which is really important. And you definitely have value with what you say that's so different from what other presenters that you would see on these different summits. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about something, because we had actually had a book giveaway, and we are about to announce the lucky winner of our book giveaway. We had Gustavo Toloso, who is one of the authors of this book, which is Live Your Healthiest Life, One Bite at a Time, One Meal at a Time. And the other author was Shada Soleimani, who was scheduled to be on our show, but she wasn't able to make it. Maybe but we've had her in the past, and I'm sure she'll come back again. But anyway, so we had a book giveaway, and I've been wanting to do the book giveaway and figure out who was winning that. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I have to get up my spinning wheel, and then we'll see. Let's see. No, it didn't want to go. Well, we may not be able to do it this time. That wouldn't be fair. Okay. Well, I might have to do it a different time, because for some reason I'm getting some conflicting things on here that's not letting me share. So we will have to see how that works. So we'll see if that works. Just give me a technical difficulty kind of thing here. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Green Warriors. I thought I had it all ready to go, and then for some reason this is not accepting it, so we'll have to do it next time. So, Esther, we talked a little bit about your book, and every time you come on, do you have your book with you? You usually bring it, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask Esther to take a page and read from that, to share something. So you guys, if you haven't seen her book, it's wonderful, and she's going to read. If you mind sharing with us.
Mine's kind of beat up because I read from it every day.
Yeah.
Just opened it up at random, and I came up with the date was July 13th, and the word is identify. I said early on in my nutritional journey, I identified the goals I wanted to achieve within the first year. I still have the list on an electronic sticky note on my desktop. So I wrote this on July 13th, 2016, and I said, I want to eat plant based foods. I want to lose 70 pounds. I want to lower my cholesterol. I want to refrain from pain and sleeping pills. I want to increase joint flexibility. I want to lower my blood pressure. And I wanted to improve my eyesight before July 13th, 2017. 1 year later, July 9th, 2017, I got there. I was down 82 pounds from 257 to 175. If I had not identified what I wanted, I would not have had a measurement with which to chart my progress. How do we get anywhere without mapping out what we want in life? Name it and claim it. I also identified food that I could live without forever. For me, abstinence is my friend. I don't have to decide at every event, should I or should I not? Not is the answer, and that struggle is over. I realized no animal would have to die so I could live. It's a done deal. What's your done deal?
Oh, wow. That is just so great. That's so wonderful. Oh my goodness. And that's something that a lot of us think about now. Maybe we didn't think about that when we were eating them, but maybe now we do.
Yeah.
That's just thank you so much for sharing that. It's just
I,
so
I think it ties into what you were talking about earlier, that some people don't keep a diary and some people don't document what they want because they don't think they're going to succeed this time. But it is important to always, I think, write it down someplace what you want, because that makes it even more embedded in your brain than just speaking the words. What do you want, and when do you want to see the difference, and keep it in a place where it's always in front of you. If that's your goal. So then, if you slip up, you're still going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful to read your book, but it's always wonderful to hear your voice read it to us, because that's so beautiful. Well, Green Warriors, please click like to show your appreciation for what Esther shared with us today. And Esther, you talked about it a little bit, but just tell us about your Facebook group and all that.
Okay, well, as a result of doing this, I was encouraged to start a Facebook group, and I was hesitant at first, but I thought, well, it might be helpful. So I started Esther's Nutritional Journey on Facebook, and every day I do a video where I read from my book, and I usually have a quote from Louise Hay, and then lately I've been also including some other inspirational material, and then I post pictures of everything I eat. So you may not want to eat what I eat, but it's my accountability record. So I do, like this morning, I had 3 potatoes and some snap peas, I think, and then I later had some sweet peppers. But I take a picture of everything I eat. I only drink water, so that's not an issue. But it gives you a guide, and it gives me accountability, which really, really helps me. And I don't do that to demonstrate how you should do it, but this is just what I have been evolved into, and it is a possible way to go. But if you like to cook and you like to make recipes and you like to use a lot of spices, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very simple, very plain, and I think no matter how restricted somebody is financially, I think they could eat what I eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we had shared, your simple pictures of things, and these are not expensive foods at all. Oh, and Jennifer said, so thankful for you, Esther. Oh, see
I'm
how
thankful. She actually came to see me.
Oh, really?
all the way from Colorado.
Oh my goodness.
That was
Wow.
wonderful.
That's wonderful. One day we'll get to meet too in person. I feel like I have been seeing you in person, but one
Oh,
day we'll get to hug anyway.
yeah.
Well, I really want to thank you, Esther, for sharing your heartfelt story again and inspiring so many of my green warriors with your journey. I mean, you have such courage, and maybe you don't feel like you do, but it's you have courage in like overcoming fear and embracing a healthier mindset, and that's really a testament to the power of perseverance and positive change.
Yeah. I think another fear, and I'll just end with this, is being judged. I think we all deal with being judged by what other people will think. But when you get on your pathway and it feels right for you, what other people think of you is none of your business. And that's a quote, I think, from Wayne Dyer.
Oh, I love that. That's a wonderful quote. Well, Green Warrior, tell us, what are you going to remember from today's interview? And Roxy said, great interview as always. Thank you, Esther and Amy. Well, thank you, Roxy. Thank you. We always love when you guys come on and put things in the chat so that we know that we're talking to each other, but it's nice to know there's somebody else out there. So when you put things in the chat, it's very, very nice. Okay. And I wanted to also thank Just Tat's Voice, because she did the promo and she did the countdown, and she's just been so instrumental in doing all these things to help this channel grow and help get the information like this out to all of you. And Just Tat's Voice, tell us who's coming up next.
Do you struggle to get quality sleep and wake up feeling refreshed? Dr. Peter Rogers is back to reveal the science behind sleep and practical tips to improve your rest naturally. Join us on Wednesday, February 26th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
Yeah, she made that graphic, and that's her voice, and she picks the music, and it just puts you in a nice mood, just like you want to sleep or something. Well, I want to thank you, Green Warrior, because you joined us today, and your engagement and support make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I really hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your thoughts in your head and your self-talk and your food choices, and make some positive changes for your health and well-being, because every thought that we think and every fear that we let take over our minds and every bite that we take, it's an opportunity to nourish our bodies and our minds, and like Esther, become the healthiest version of ourselves. And I'd like to encourage you to stay tuned for more empowering content. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out Esther's social media, her nutritional journey. Make sure you answer the questions if you want to be on there, and share our message with others who you think that can benefit, because together as Green Warriors, we can really make a meaningful difference in the world. And as a special thank you to all of you, I would like to offer you 5 free recipes, and you just go ahead and go to BeGreenWithAmy/join, and I will send them to you. And I'd love to share things with you, just like Esther likes to share. I like to share things too. And I would like to invite all of you, and Esther, of course, to take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze all the fears out and take all the good, because that's a hug from me to you. That's a hug from me to you, Esther, and all my Green Warriors out there. And if you would like to join me and Esther as we say my tagline, you can just go ahead and type it in the chat. Are you ready, Esther?
Yes.
Okay. Until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and be
green.
green. Thank you, Green Warriors. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you.
We hope to see you all really soon.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and